Thank you very much and welcome to this day's, it's the last day of the devolution, or no, actually the legislative summit that has brought together members of the county assembly, the senate and stakeholders that are involved with matters devolution, and they have been discussing a number of issues. And one of the most key resolutions that has come out is that they want everything that has been discussed in the four legislative summits to be implemented before they come up with any other new resolution. But at that particular time, the members of county assembly feel like what has been happening with government is that they have been left outside and they have been isolated when it comes to matters devolution and their role in devolution, even in the county assemblies in which they are making laws for the counties. But that matter has actually been escalated, and right now we are joined by the Minister for Devolution, that is Eugene Wamalwa, to actually look at all this. And Waziri,
Yes.
there is this issue on devolution and the legislative summit. This is the fourth one.
Yes.
But the members of county assembly feel like we have not been able to implement what we've been discussing so far. Whose problem is it? Is it the government? Because I know you as the ministry, you have that mandate of trying probably to follow up and see whether these things that have been discussed can actually be implemented.
I think most of the resolutions really need legislative interventions. And I'm very, very pleased that at the end of the fourth annual legislative summit, we have the Senate committing that already there's a bill that will be transforming CAF into a legal entity. So with this bill passing, by the time we come to the fifth annual legislative summit, CAF would actually be anchored in the law. Similarly, we are in the process of amending the necessary legislation to anchor COG's secretariat in the law. So we have quite a number of reforms that are ongoing, and most of the resolutions made here will be implemented through those resolutions. So there are those that will undertake as national government, there are those that the Senate is undertaking, and at the county level as well. So it's a partnership, and I'm very, very pleased to be here in Kisumu for this conference.
Now that you're bringing in this issue, and the sentiments that are coming out from the members of the county assembly is that the ministry under your watch has really been very helpful. They are even saying that it is approachable. But there is this issue that you're bringing in CAF and trying to anchor it in law. Yesterday, even NTV had a story, and the members of county assembly are not particularly very happy with CAF. Now, there is the question of they're increasing the money from 2.7 million and it's going up all the way to 5 million. But they do feel like CAF has not been at the forefront of fighting for what they really do need. How do you, as a ministry, come in and probably make sure that there is this harmonization between the members of county assembly and the body that stands for them, that is CAF?
I think the best we can do for them is that we have, as a national government, developed alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. So we would advise them where they have disputes such as this, we have mechanisms. We can help them resolve these disputes so that we see a harmonious way of working between the assemblies and COG and national government. As we speak, we are working very, very well with the COG. In the last 6 devolution conferences, we've seen very improved relations between the national government and the county governments, and would similarly like to see such relations improve between us and our county assemblies. So far, going by the engagements we've had here, we've had very fruitful deliberations, and we are looking forward to seeing how we can engage, even as we face matters that are challenges that are of a national nature. The county assemblies have a role to play, even in the prevailing drought situation. I've appealed to them using the legislative powers. I would like them to go back to their county assemblies, and in case they have not passed the necessary legislation setting up emergency funds, would like them to do that. Would also like them to, using their budgetary reallocation powers, engage their county assemblies, their county governments, so that we can see more reallocation of resources towards the emergency that we're facing now, that is drought. Already talking to the Wajir legislators here, I'm very pleased to hear from the Wajir Speaker, the MCS. They are saying they had a supplementary budget where they have reallocated more resources towards food, towards water tracking, towards also purchasing of hay, animal feeds. So we would like to see particularly the ASAL counties with the rains delaying or failing, we'd like the counties to do more. So as legislators, we need to develop that partnership to see what role they can play. And I'm very pleased with the engagements we've had here, the undertaking they have all put in place, that the issue of drought and what is facing our country is not a national government problem. The county assemblies, the county government executives will all come in to all see what can be done. So we need all hands on deck to deal with the situation that is facing us today. So I'm happy with the engagement we've had.
But also, as you say, that the county governments and particularly the county assemblies have that role to play when it comes to reallocating money. A while ago today, a number of governors even had a press conference and they are calling on well-wishers to come in. What is the national government coming in to do with regards to this and helping counties, or are counties not serious when it comes to this matter, drought? And also, is the national government serious? Because this is not just something that has just occurred. It is something that probably the government knew, because the meteorological department is still under the national government, and we are coming to be too reactive than having arrested this situation earlier on.
Actually, we're not being reactive. We have our counties as our first lines of defense. So when the short rains failed, because you remember we had very good long rains. In fact, we had more than we needed. We ended up dealing with floods, you know, in Tana River, in Garissa, because the long rains were very successful. And as a result, last year we had a bumper harvest. But when we went to October, November, December, the short rains failed. This is what has created the drought that we have been experiencing right from January up to now. And we had given the counties the opportunity as a first line of defense to deal with it. Only when the counties are overwhelmed, the national government comes in. So when we had the Devolution conference in Kirinyaga, the counties reached out to us and said, we have a problem, we're overwhelmed. The little we had put in place is gone. So that's when you saw us coming in. So it's not that we delayed or that we are being reactive. We have a system that kicks in first, the counties, then the national government. When we're overwhelmed as national government, that's when we can now declare this a national disaster. We are not yet there. And only when the national government declares drought a national disaster that you now have the international community coming in. You have importation of food. As we speak, we still have enough food in this country. So what we're doing, we're just moving the food to the food deficit counties that are affected. And you've seen us in all the 13 counties. Even as I sit here today, food is being distributed in all the counties. We have water being tracked there. And all we're urging is that the counties must do more. If they had not set aside enough, we're challenging the legislators here to go home and reallocate the way Wajir has done. If they have not set up an emergency fund as required under Section 110 of the PFM Act, let them do so. I gave an example of Western Gishu Assembly. They already set up an emergency fund. They have legislation on disaster risk management. Even as we do that, we are urging the Senate. As national government, we already passed a policy on disaster risk management last year. We have legislation pending before the Senate, and we have agreed they should fast-track this legislation so that we have the bill turning into an act of parliament on disaster risk management. We also have formed the National Drought Management Fund. We have legislation similarly pending before the House. We need this legislation passed so that we operationalize the 2 billion fund that can now help us in this situation.
But Waziri, then the question begs, now that governors, you say, came to you with regards to how you can help mitigate this drought situation, as the go-between and as the big brother, that is the national government, did you ask the hard questions to these governors? What happened to the emergency fund? Because I know it is a certain percentage of the money that is sent. Is it 2 or 3%?
It's 2.3%.
2.3% of the money that is sent to the county government. What
are
you doing with this money?
The emergency fund, under the PFM Act, the CEC Finance is allowed to draw not more than 2.3%.
Yes.
And this is a requirement of the law. I've been engaging these governors. All the 13 counties I've gone to, I've asked them, fine, we're coming as national government to support you, but have you set in place an emergency fund? I've been very surprised. Some of them have not. A county like Uasin Gishu that is food surplus, they have enough rains, have actually gone ahead to set up a fund and legislation. And it's very surprising that some of the ASAL counties have not. So my challenge to the legislators here, coming from Mandera, from Wajir, all the way to Turkana, Kilifi, Tana River, I'm asking them, have you set up this fund? If you have not, please go back home and do it. Not tomorrow,
to wait
yesterday.
for the national government.
Go and do it. We also have challenged them that, it's not a question of asking what the national government is doing. I told them what JFK said, that ask not what your country is doing for you, ask what you can do for your country. So as a legislator, ask not what your country, Kenya, is doing for your county, but what you as a legislator can do for your county and by extension your country. So we've agreed we would ensure that these emergency funds are in place. Where they have not, let them reallocate. Because having heard from the Mets last night, the long rains have not just delayed, but could fail. So we must be planning up to October, November, when the short rains come, and up to December. So this is something, as we leave Kisumu City, we want the legislators, the county governments to step up, just the way the national government is doing. And for your information, I want to tell you that the drought we are facing today has not reached the same level as in 2017. 2017, we had 3.5 million Kenyans affected. We had the majority of our counties in alarm stage. That's why the president declared drought a national disaster. Today, we have majority of our counties in alert stage. Maybe with the delay and the failing of the rains, we might have some counties going into the alarm stage. But the president has directed that no resource, no effort should be spared to ensure we get food to all Kenyans affected and water, so that we prevent any loss of life or livelihood.
Now, probably as the national government,
Yes.
and there's this issue about drought, and there are some counties that say that we have surplus.
Yes.
How are you trying to coordinate? Like you say, Uasin Gishu, probably the amount of money that they set aside
Yes.
for disaster is not for food.
Yes.
Probably they will use it to some other matters. But we have farmers who have even come on our television stations to say that we have surplus which we can sell. What is the national government doing? And I remember one time you went to a certain county and you said that since you have a surplus of ndengu, the government is going to buy so that we give to those who do not have.
Yes.
What are these mitigation issues that are probably going to happen so that you can allow for inter-county collaboration so that they can also buy?
The route we are taking now of regional economic blocks is really the route that's going to resolve some of these things. And we have encouraged all counties, and I'm so happy that the last two counties, Narok and Kajiado, that had not joined any block, have actually formed the 7th block, Sakem.
Yes.
And we are happy that it's Nakem, sorry. As we move forward, we want these blocks to become investment magnets, to draw, because together they're more attractive to investors. But also, when you have a block like Noreb, and you have two counties in that block that are facing drought, like West Pokot and Turkana, we're encouraging these blocks, because the North Rift has the biggest surplus. They can actually, during this Easter, in the Easter spirit, move into Turkana, West Pokot and support. You have the Mount Kenya block that will be receiving good rains and might have food surplus. Neighboring the FCDC block, they can move in and help. And similarly, we look at the Kajiado area. We see how the Lake Region block can also step in to support their Rift Valley partners, as well as the Kajiado Narok area.
So in other words, as we finish, we're saying that
Yes.
these economic blocks are the only way forward for counties at this particular time.
Yes, for transformation of a region, for acceleration of social economic development, but also when it comes to disasters such as this. As they enjoy the economies of scales in terms of investments, in terms of infrastructure development, they can cushion each other. So even before the national government comes in, and I was happy to hear Governor Paranya the other day say they will be donating $1 million shillings each county to help counties affected. We want to challenge, they can do better. These counties, if they were to set aside 10 million each, they can actually move in. Before the national government comes in, the counties can themselves cushion each other through their blocks. Then the national government comes in. You only go to the international partners when, as national government, we have declared a national disaster. And that is why we have set the National National Drought Management Fund in place. It's through that fund that now our development partners, our donors, can chip in. But we have not reached the level of 2017 to declare this a national disaster as yet. We still have enough food in the country. We'll move the food where it is required to save lives. But in the meantime, let the county government step up just the way the national government is stepping up in terms of upscaling food distribution and water tracking.
So are you also cautioning farmers from cartels who would want to bring maize into the country and take advantage of this window that there is no maize, or probably we have enough maize in the country?
We have not reached the level where we are talking about importing maize. As we speak, our stores are full, and the counties affected are only 13 out of 47. So we haven't reached the level of declaring this a national disaster. As I said,
but
right now we only have 1.1 million Kenyans affected. In 2017, we had 3.5 million affected. But we were able to mobilize enough resources. You know, when we had the drought, right from December to about February, the government released about 5 billion that ensured no Kenyan died. When we declared national disaster in February, we had the majority of our counties affected. Our food situation was unstable. That's why we had to import maize into the country. And the government again mobilized 7 billion shillings. The donors, after declaring a national disaster, brought in about 5 billion. And we were able to ensure that no Kenyan died in 2017. We will ensure, and the president has directed, that we spare no effort. We need all hands on deck to ensure no Kenyan loses their life in this period.
Thank you, Waziri.
Thank you so much.
Asante sana. From Kisumu, it's a wrap, and probably the government insists that they will make sure that everything goes right and no cartels will be allowed to bring in maize like we saw some other time, as we have sufficient food in the country, as Waziri has said, and probably they're not going to let it go to unprecedented levels as it was in 2017. From Kisumu, the Legislative Summit, the fourth one, it's a wrap.